I think that we should, but it's hard to talk to people about faith in something versus proof. And every time this song keeps coming to my head, the Paul Simon song, he talks about faith. Faith is an island in the setting sun. Proof is the bottom line for everyone, right? That's the lyrics that keep coming into my head. And right now we live in a time where faith and evidence or proof are head to head with each other. They are butting heads so much that it's almost like if I have faith in a thing that Joseph Smith said in the scriptures that selves, but I have no proof of it, it's worthless almost. It seems worthless in this day and age. So to have proof or to have a second witness has been useful for me. And so the herbal treatise in the Mentana, you just have to go to mentana.com, or actually they've changed the website to something else, but look it up. There's mentana.com. If you go to mentana.com, they have the free resources link there, and they've got a tab, and you can download the treatise on the whole healing part of the Mentana archives. The whole healing part you can get ordained in or something like that. And it talks about their herbs, and it talks about their massage therapy. I think that...
Is that the women's group back in Missouri?
Yeah, there's a group back in Missouri, I believe.
They're from the Church of Christ.
Yeah. So I'm not quite sure, but it would be interesting to see the second witnesses of this. When I was listening to Robin about marriage and healing and men and women and that relationship and even sexual healing, I was thinking about the massage therapy in the Mentana archives. And they have a therapy also that was specific to attraction to homosexual attraction, and to bring people to awareness of Christ and their relationship with him, and bring them out of abnormal love and into what the Lord calls, a united love with him. Like marriage to him is always what it's about. And what we did with the protocols of adversarial resistance also ties into the concept of the hells, like the oppositional forces and what they put upon us in this life. And the only one that can overcome or prevail against all of the hells, all of these lies and things like that, is God. So when President Nelson says, "Let God prevail in your life," he is really the only one who can prevail against all of the hells. So marriage to him and to light and goodness is the only way to really accomplish that. But to recognize who you are in that is really interesting. So a third witness of that same concept is in Swedenborg. So write down this name, because this is an author that wrote in the 1700s. In 1750, he started writing. He was already a polymath and a polyglot. He knew several different sciences. He discovered some sciences. And he was a scientist in Sweden, University of Sweden. And so Swedenborg, B-O-R-G is the last part of his name. He was already a scientist when his spiritual eyes were opened. And he was told by God to write down these spiritual experiences that he had. And he would write them down, and he would cross-correlate all of the topics, because they would come in so quickly to his mind that he had all of these treatises. Heaven and Hell is one of them, and one is Divine Providence. He has a whole series of these books, and he would take the manuscripts anonymously to the publisher, and he would say, "If you publish this book, you get all of the profits from it. I take no responsibility for it. It's yours," kind of a thing. And these gifts to humanity came out in the 1750s and 60s 1770s in Swedish. Okay, so it was really interesting. They started getting translated into German and other languages, but I don't know if Joseph Smith ever read these treatises. But he talks about the celestial, terrestrial, and the celestial heavens. He talks about all the layers of hell as well. He talks about what heaven is like, what divine marriage is. And he talks about what the nature of love is and how religion got it wrong. And he just, he lays into all the religions of the day. He says, you don't understand what love is. You're not living your religion. All of these things. He was so Joseph Smith, like 100 years before Joseph Smith. And so I have some of these quotes from marriage. His name is Swedenborg. Yes.
Is the foundation.
Yeah. And the YouTube videos, if you want to just listen to what his concepts are in a more modern language, it's called Off the Left Eye.
There's a link to it on this page.
OFF?
Off. Yes.
There's a link
Off.
to it on Swedenborg.com.
Yes, Swedenborg.com, Off the Left Eye. And I love his works, and they are another witness to what we have in Joseph Smith and what we have in our scriptures. And I suppose it's not proof, right? But multiple witnesses always establish a truth. That's what I think. And the way to healing a marriage is to understand really what marriage is, and the union of good and truth, which is linked out to love and wisdom, which is always what God puts out. So if God is here, he's putting out love. He is love, and he is wisdom at the same time, combined, right? That's the union of what God is, love and wisdom. And what wisdom puts out is truth, the truth of things, as they were, as they are, and as they will be. And what love puts out is goodness. Everything that is good points to what is love, points to what is God. It's really very fascinating what he puts together. And his advice is very practical, and it's very universally applied. And so anyway, I would highly recommend that free resource for you. You can actually download all of Swedenborg's works on your computer and just read them. You don't have to buy them in hardback or anything like that. They are free for you. And I know that we should be teaching each other out of the best books, which is the Mentana Archives, I believe, the scriptures, right? And stuff like this. I think it's amazing. And even for our energy healing, because Tamara Lang, who spoke to us before, she has put out the treatise of what is energy healing scripturally, right? So we have at least many witnesses of how true it is and what it can do for us. And that we should be asking for these gifts is one of the most amazing things that we can think about, right? That we should be asking for these gifts. And we should be using these gifts. And it doesn't matter who tells us that we can't. That's the most important thing, right? Because it is for the good of all humankind, for our fellow men, it points back to God. So, yeah.
When do you need your slides?
And I'm going to pull them up in just a moment. I really want to bring in, just a second, witness what Robin would have about the Gospel of Philip and the Mentana Archives and kind of tie it together. But I also want to talk about healing.
I want it mute.
So I give you guys a vote. Okay. Which would you rather learn?
Change the input.
Sorry.
Don't shame yourself. So, raise your hand if you want to know Swedenborg's link to marriage, masculine, feminine. Okay, 1, 2, 3. And the second choice is my healing therapy and the concept of healing.
Oh, can we do both?
Ugh,
Don't make us
okay.
choose. You do an
All
hour
right.
each?
It's so hard to choose. Okay. Yeah, let's do.
Can she come back?
Let's do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's just have you
Choose one
do
and have you come back and do the other.
Okay. All right. Do that. Let's do.
Which one do you think is more important for us right now?
I think healing is going to be
Okay.
the most important thing. Okay. All right. Lies and deceptions are things that need to be overcome. And there are so many lies and deceptions in this world about the current crisis. And the Lord had already prepared for the current crisis before we were even on the earth, in my opinion. He already knew it would happen when he planted the garden, right? When he even planted the seeds on this earth. They were not for their own particular thing. They were actually in preparation for humans to be on the earth. The plants were made for the humans, right? Not the humans for the plants. The plants were made for us to eat. The trees were made for the fruit, which we should be eating, right? It is in the word of wisdom that there are certain things that are for our nature, constitution, and use. The building blocks of us and the recreation blocks of us. And in their times and season, this is amazing. In the summertime, there was a therapy that you could do by boiling the rinds of citrus. And here in the fall time, there's a healing thing you can do from the pectin of apples, which happen to be ripe in the fall time. Okay, and I'm thinking to myself, why don't you just eat the citrus? What's wrong with just eating the foods that are there instead of boiling it down to a singular thing? Why can't we take the food that God gave us and use it? And I do believe that there are miracles in foods that are ripened in South America, in China, in Australia, and New Zealand, and the kiwi is a miracle. And all of these things get shipped to us, and they're ripe when we eat them. So I think, personally, that they're all miracles for us. Whole foods are miracles. And it's hard for me to take out a single active ingredient and call that good. It's hard for me to contemplate how other people can as well. So I believe what President Nelson said, the great quote that he said in conference this weekend, that you have a temple, right? And you have the responsibility to care for your temple. And and that just confirmed to me that, look, constitution, nature, and use are the things that should be my foundation. And then when I have a body that works like I want it to work, then the fuel that runs it should be a starch-based diet. Because that's really what the staff of life is, right? Grains. And it doesn't have to be gluten-based grains. It can be other grains, but starches, potatoes, and kombucha squashes, and all of these things. These are what is pushing us. In every country around the world, the people who live the longest are the ones who do it. They follow the word of wisdom. Even if they don't know what the word of wisdom is, they do it. and they don't do processed foods. So they don't singular it down to something that does nothing. Yeah.
Something that just came to mind, if I could share it while you're talking about
Do it.
breaking something down into the singularity of it. If we are all fruit,
Mm-hmm.
symbolically,
Yeah.
do we only look at that one singularity within ourselves and say that's all we are? Or do we look at the magnitude of what we can be if we take all components of what we are,
Yeah.
who we are?
Exactly. Why don't we look at ourselves as a whole
Yeah.
person? We're not just one thing.
Many layers, many gifts, many spiritual gifts to have, not just one.
Yeah. And I'm reading Joseph Smith's life and all of the gifts that he asked for or he displayed in his life. Almost every single one of the gifts I think every single one of the gifts that are mentioned in the New Testament, Joseph Smith had or experienced in his life, and he was that. And we are told to actually look for, covet even, desire all of the gifts that he was able to display in his life, right? And he lived and was, in the second portion, Dr. Gardner talks about, I don't know if you had ever seen the second portion of that, and I made a list. She said, thank you. She said, don't forget, we cannot perpetuate a lie by leaving out this information. It's very important, she said. And you could hear a pin drop on this conversation because it was John By the Way and this other guy, and they're like not talking when she's saying this. Don't forget, when Joseph Smith was alive, women were giving blessings, healing blessings. And that is written in our history. And we cannot say the church wasn't true at that time and it is now. We have to say the church is true then and the church is true now. And if you think about the correspondence of church, though, it is God, it is love, his love and his wisdom, like married together. So it's so cool and profound what Swedenborg talks about these correspondences. Everything is symbolic of something spiritual in heaven. Everything, the way that angels talk is in these symbols because they mean so many things. So there's so many languages, so many meanings to their language, and all of it is for our emotions to be brought up into love. Okay, I have all these notes here about that, and I'll get to it. But I wanted to get to healing first, because we can't forget that that's what they asked for. And we can't forget that that's what they did. They gave healing blessings all the way up until a certain president of the church, all right? So there was a whole period of time. And that have to be on the earth again in order for the Savior to recognize us and for us to recognize the Savior, because it is what love is and it is what we do. In a society where you don't need a hospital, you all have to be healers, and that's a gift of the Spirit. And if we can't afford a hospital because we don't have money for it, God has to provide that gift for us to heal each other. And we should be learning what these gifts are and do right now, as well as like a standing army. Really pertinent to have a standing army for a nation to secure its borders and all of those things. But the Lord says that he will fight our battles too. So on this level of standing army defense for myself, like, do I need an army to defend myself from the opposition? No, because if I let God prevail, like he's already defeating all of the untruth in my life. He's already kicking that out and defending me. So why do I need money? See, this is the whole concept of a society of Zion. We're all healers. We all know the law, so there's no lawyers that we need, right? We know in our hearts what the law is and how it applies to us, right? And if there's no hospitals and there's no lawyers and there's no army, what are we going to do? Like, we could be full-time continuing to create ideas to make our lives such that we can grow closer in love together. Like, it's all about love in the end and unity. And Swedenborg talks about this heaven being, it's not about praising the Lord 24/7. You're going to get tired of that in 2 days, right? It's not about playing a harp on a cloud because you're going to get tired of that in 2 days, right? It's about working towards the continual expression of joy and giving that gift to each other and having it reciprocally flow back to us. And there's recreational activities, yes. There are planets to visit, there's food to eat on different planets, all kinds of fun things to do, parties, get-togethers, family reunions, but you can only do that for so much time. Like, there's always a good work for you to continue to feel accomplished doing before you do your recreational activities. And there's always this swing back and forth, and it expands and it expands, and righteousness expands. And I want to flow into that idea as a Zion society. Like changing the earth, not really, but staying with the presence of the earth. Like, it likes righteousness too, and the earth needs to know that you're going to pick its fruits and eat its fruits when it produces, if it's going to produce. So in the Mentana it says, we are cautioned that our healing powers will be taken when there's unrighteousness, when there's any form of dominion. I'm going to just refer to the volume 2, Book of the High Place, Healing Power, on page 44 if you have your volume 2, 43 actually. Okay, page 43. This is verse 49 where Peter is speaking. Yes, it's healing power is in their temple covenant. It's in their temple portrayal. And it says, Peter says, it is well, although we have set you apart and given you the gifts of the Spirit by the laying on of hands, this is only the promise or the opportunity to receive them. The realization of this endowment depends entirely upon your faithfulness in seeking the face of God. Principal among these gifts is the gift of healing. All right, so you cannot seek the face of God without being healed. There's no way to separate healing from seeing his face. Seeing his face is equal, it's the same. Oh. So even if a person dies here of COVID or anything else, right, they are immediately healed. It's just
when they pass through the
that
veil?
they are
Yeah.
passed through the veil and they are immediately healed. Okay. Principal among the gifts is the gift of healing. The power of the healer is in the hands. Its tokens are the many things on this earth that Elohim Heavenly Mother has provided for healing of the body and the spirit. Okay, so the things on this earth that Heavenly Mother has provided for the healing of the body and the spirit are touch therapies, right? That for what we give to each other, and foods, right? She gave us the foods on the planet for our healing as well. And we have touch and we have food. That's what we have. Those are our gifts, right? The other things, we have the cleansing rain, we have the beautiful sunshine that gives us vitamin D, right? We have, well, if we could bathe in the sun, I know that it would probably heal us, but it also feeds other things in our body. Anyway, I'm not going to get into that. If we had the foods in the right and proper manner, we could be in the sun all day and not get cancer or get burned, is my opinion. Because you're made from the stuff the sun has made ripe, right? If you are made from the stuff, your food is your medicine, you could literally be in the full blazing sun, in my opinion, and it wouldn't burn you. We are simply burned because our defense mechanism is lowered every time we eat processed food, because the processing tends to diminish our ability to fight off illness. It also corrupts us. Yes, it corrupts us. Thank you guys for being so helpful.
One happy thing when I went to a specialist with my foot.
Yeah.
His only prescription was vitamin D, and I was so happy about that. I was so impressed.
Yeah.
He just said, you know, when we're out in the sun, if you shower within 24 hours, that's where it's stored, so wash it off. So he's saying that don't wash it off, but that's why you have to take the supplements. And he said, you know, 5,000 if you've been on it, and 10,000 if you're just starting on it. But that, like, I was like so impressed that a real physician.
A real physician said that. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
See, we need more doctors that are understanding this concept of the D, because it's not really a vitamin, it's kind of a hormone. And it's a very interesting, we need the sun, right? We need it. And we've even dispersed these chemicals into our environment that block it from getting to us too.
Bill Gates wants to even further.
And
he
with
wants
further.
to block the sun.
You block the sun.
Absolutely. But we've had 5,000 years of people in the sun.
In the sun.
And all of a sudden now we can't be in the sun.
Right.
You know, we have to put all these sunscreens
There's
and.
more skin cancers since sunscreen.
Yes.
Well,
Exactly
they put
right.
in all these goos and
Mm-hmm.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And I think really if we got into the sun more and we're a bit more worshipful of the sun, which is of course the light of Christ, right? And it's all even in the Doctrine and Covenants where it says the sun is God. God is the sun, and he is the light of the sun and the power by which it was made. And that's not a brain teaser for us as Latter-day Saints. Like, what actually is, because we do have a tendency to break God into these three parts, and there is so much more to God and he's so much more gracious and good, and anyway. Okay, so back to our things. We have the sun as a tool, we have food as a tool, we have water as a tool, but now of course the water is corrupted as well. And breathing fresh, clean air is a tool, right? And of course, air is not corrupted, right? And we have forests. If you went into the forest, there's something called forest bathing, right? And they've already done studies on forest bathing, which is basically being in the woods surrounded by trees. And that filters the air. And yeah, nutrition studies, if you go to nutritionfacts.org, you can find the studies on forest bathing. So that's a tool as well, getting into nature and feeling the ions.
In the forest or just in your yard?
Where you have nature and it filters the air, that's forest bathing, right? And if you get into all the Wasatch Front waterfall hikes that you can do and just feel the ions floating up from the moving water that hits the ground, the ions, the negative ions, are another tool that Heavenly Mother has given to us. That's why we have rivers and streams and lakes. And I don't want a world that is flat. I just think it's not as pretty. Anyway, so all of these are the tools. The sign is a gift. The sign of this gift is given by the Father so that you will always remember that the gifts of God work best when they are linked together. Okay? Just as the health of the body is determined by the proper functioning of all the organs. And disease is defined by the dysfunction of the organs, one or all. Okay. Dis-ease, not at ease. It doesn't have the flow that is required for it. All right, so there's several things that you can do to start the flow in your own body, to release your own trapped tension that's causing one area of your body not to move like it should, okay? And what I begin in Bowenwork is to start that movement for you. I want to give you another free tool, It's a free tool because of COVID. Isn't it amazing what free tools we have because of COVID? It's called trecourse.com. This is to start your flow, and it is a self-therapy exercise. TRE, it's from Australia, and well, it's just reformulated, I guess, from just because it was in the African tribes. They are the keepers of the movement, right? They are the keepers of the flow, but it's everywhere. Okay, you'll have to do this course. It's called the Keepers of the Flow, the dance, the Keepers of the Dance. Yeah, so that's self-proclaiming. Yeah, they have a way of doing these dance and starting a group dance so that the whole tribe will dance together, right? And this is a movement on the earth, and there's a movement in heaven when there's a movement on the earth, right? It's a way of creation, okay? So what happens in heaven happens on earth, and what we start on earth goes up to heaven. Like it's a practice of faith. What Timothy's gospel talks about is faith, is action, is words, is motion. Okay. trecourse.com.
I
And
say a spiritual side of all the dancing, like the men with the Native Americans, because the women shed their blood in an atonement.
Yes.
The atonement for them was work through sweat and dance through sweat, as the Savior sweat, the Creator sweat for them. So it was a sacramental type thing for those that
I think
were
it was
spiritually connected. And I mean, I used to be part of folk dancers, so but the spinning, there's dances that like the spinning and it's all like spinning off darkness and just staying centered on that balance.
Yes, exactly. So TRE is, I discovered it because, long story short, I would go into processing on the table when I got Bowenwork done on me. Processing is that spinning. That is it's like your body moves by itself. Almost like you yawn without thinking about it. Your body does that naturally. You orgasm without thinking about it. Your body does it naturally. You birth a baby naturally, right? It's just the way that your body works without you thinking about it. If you have to throw up, if you're really sick and you have to throw up, your body does that too. And you have no control over that. But the way to heal is also to keep the flow steady and to regulate it and to understand you can start it and you can stop it. You can start that flow in your body and you can stop it, and you can have it speak to you what needs to move, and it will. So TRE course, T is for tension and trauma release exercise. Okay, TRE, tension and trauma release exercise. And even sexually, if you have a problem in that area, you can do TRE to regulate your own body's movement and start to get motion in that area. It's really an interesting therapy. It's a very interesting therapy. It helps your performance in yoga, your ability to have motion in your vertebrae, because if you're stuck in certain areas, you need to have that motion returned, right? And your body can do that. So I give you that free therapy. Do it. And tell me what you think of it. When Bowenwork happened on me, so Bowenwork works through the nervous system. It's designed to work through the nervous system. It was invented by a guy named Tom Bowen in Australia in the 1950s and 60s. He was a cement factory worker. He was not trained as a doctor or massage therapist or anything else. He was self-taught in this therapy. He learned it from heaven. He called it a gift from God. He was told to help somebody who had fallen off a scaffolding in the cement factory, hit the cement floor, and he saw it through his glass window. He was up in an office. He saw the guy fall, and he was inspired to help the guy. And he responded to that inspiration with doubt. Okay, so he said, I have no idea what to do to help that guy. I don't know what to say. I can't help that guy. And the inspiration came back to him, please help the guy. I will tell you what to do. And so he went to help the guy, and he was really shown or told, somehow he was told where to touch the man to kind of, and the man got better. He got up off that floor and he was better. And other people in the cement factory were then like, well, if you could help that guy, could you help my shoulder, could you help my knee, could you help my whatever, you know. And all of a sudden he was not working at the cement factory anymore. He did not have any time. He was busy helping all of these people, and he never charged, but his secretary charged. Okay, so he got to make some money, right? And he was in somebody's living room for a while, and then he got a little office, and he would just put these twin beds all around the office, and he separated them by curtains, I guess, and he had people lay flat face down first with their head to the side and their feet off of the end of the table, and he would be inspired to touch them in certain places to start their body doing its own self-correction. And in science, the key to science, science is the key to theology. Pratt wrote it. I don't know if it's Orson Pratt or Pratt. But the key to the science of theology is the book that says how the nervous system, how the spirit flows from one animal body to another through the nervous system. All right, so if we can just get to the tiny little moves next to the spine that are the basis of your balance and the entry points to your nervous system, your body can take the rest of that, and in the 2-minute wait that is required after that, it will take that signal from the moves that I made, and it will travel up the nervous system to your brain, and it will start reorganizing your neural pathways. And that will come back to rebalance the way it holds that muscle in tension in 2 minutes or less, right? So it needs that time, that magic time. That's what the key to the therapy is. It's the time. It's basically an instruction and time. And when I was sitting there meditating upon what was happening to my body started to move all by itself. And this freaked me out because I thought I was possessed, right? And I said, oh, this is not good. This has got to be an evil, like, bad thing, but whatever. It was actually my body's own, like yawning, right? It was yawning. It was coming back to focus. It was bringing in more oxygen. It was when the muscles start holding the bones the way they're supposed to, you don't need a chiropractor to pop them into place and hope they stay. Your nerves talk to your muscles, hold up the bones. They're all encased in fascia. Everything is connected together, right? There's actually 9 times more nerve endings in your fascia or connective tissue than there are in the muscle themselves. So many people who complain of muscle pain are actually, it's fascial nerve pain, it's connective tissue pain is what they're feeling. And that's a signal that there is dysfunction, oftentimes dysfunction in the organs that are trying to digest your food because you've put something processed in there that it doesn't recognize as food, right? So it's going, what in the heck is this? How am I going to deal with this? It's freaking out, right? And all of those things cause the dis-ease in the organs. So when I talk to the nerves start telling the body, oh, we can come back to balance point. And when you've had enough of those instructions, you're done for the day, and you don't get more instructions put into you for another 5 to 10 days. Usually, ideally 7, because your body has this 7-day processing pattern, just like the earth has, just like 7 is an amazing number. It's a very sacred number. And so Tom wouldn't see people but for every 7 days. And he was gifted with the ability to see when somebody walked into his clinic if they had seen another therapist. He could tell that they had seen a physio or something like that. And he would be, you saw somebody else, you're not walking right. You did something wrong. What did you do? And they say, yeah, you caught me. And he's like, there's the door. Because he wouldn't have anybody do other things while he was doing Bowenwork, because those simple things can get interrupted by other therapies or deep manual, deep tissue massage. because the deep tissue massage
That was physical
does something else physically, on a
therapies.
physical.
What about other emotional therapies? or
Emotional
physical
therapy is
therapies?
fine because everything that flows in, like, I don't know what he did, but his gift was to see, like, how to do the therapy. But he was not gifted in teaching. He could not say what he did for the life of him. And they tried to get grandfathered into the government bill that says he could be official as a osteopath. And so they put him before the committee to explain his therapy. And he said, well, bring me the person and I'll make them better. And they're like, no. But what are the steps that you did so that we can, have you grandfathered in and all that stuff? Well, bring me the person and I'll make them better. So they said, no, sorry, you can't be grandfathered into
So who
to our
wrote all
law.
this stuff down for you?
Somebody did. Somebody wrote it down. His name was Ozzie Wrench, and Ozzie was
I
a.
thought you were talking about Anthony Williams.
Oh, this Anthony Williams?
Yeah,
No,
it's
he's
the
Bowen.
same thing that.
No. Bowenwork, Tom Bowen. So he couldn't explain what he did. So Ozzie Wrench was a massage therapist who would observe Tom. And he would write down the specific moves that Tom did on an anatomy page, all of this stuff. And if it was right, if it was actually what he did, he would put a little check mark in the corner. And then if it was wrong at all, he would take his pen and we'd just mark straight through the whole page like that. And he would walk away. He was not gifted with words. He wasn't a very good teacher at all. So there were 5 observers of Tom Bowen's work. And it's like looking at an elephant, right? And they all came at different times in his practice. And so they all saw him do different things, and they all came from different backgrounds. One was a massage therapist, one was craniosacral, one was a chiropractor. All of these guys, they're called Tom's boys. They took his work and put it into their own practice, except for Ozzie, who wrote it down, right? And Ozzie, so Tom said on his deathbed, Ozzie, I want that practice not to be forgotten, but you're going to publish it after I'm dead. So I'm like, I don't know why you said that, but maybe he didn't want his observers to be mad while he was still alive, right? They could argue afterwards. And it has been a political fiasco, but I appreciate looking at all of the different therapies that came from Tom's work and setting them side by side and seeing what the principle was and doing it that way. Anyway, I became a practitioner of it when it took away the pain in my arms, carpal tunnel. I was having such bad carpal tunnel, I couldn't lift my boys. And those tiny little moves were so annoying to me because the practitioner kept walking out of the room and then coming back in minutes later. I'm like, what is she doing, the dishes or whatever? Because I was a very impatient person, and she did not explain the weights were the most important part. So I'm explaining to you, if you do Bowenwork or have a session, look, the wait time is your body meditating. It is doing its thing. If you start motioning on the table, your body is doing its thing, and work with that. You can work with that. And it's actually much more helpful if your body is moving on the table. And I teach you how to do that too if you start motioning. It's really great and very helpful. Okay, so we get the instructions. That's like the Spirit, the Holy Ghost, like traveling from Tom Bowen into the client. And he did just enough. He said he did just enough to get your car started on a downhill slope. Like you did the rest of the work in the days after the therapy. And that's so antithetical to what a chiropractor does. They chop you until you feel better, right? And you walk out. Or massage therapists, then they rub you until you feel better. But your tension is not gone because the instructions for resetting the tension weren't consciously inputted into you. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay. So Tom Bowen figured out the very simplest way to do that.
He went to the root problem.
Went to the root problem.
Snap, snap, snap.
Right, exactly. Give you instructions on you go. And then days afterwards, you feel like amazing, like day 3 or 4 even. Amazing. It went away all by itself, you say in your head, right? The problem just, it just It just went away. It wasn't Tom at all, or it wasn't Bowenwork at all. And that's the problem with Bowenwork, is because it works opposite. You don't feel better usually right at the time. Some people do. But most people don't feel anything for a couple of days. And then boom, they feel all better. So it's weird. It's a weird therapy. And I love it. I do love it. Okay, so because the nerve system talks to those organs too, it starts getting your food digested in a different way, in a better way, days after. And if it's cleaning out toxins, it takes those a couple of days to ease out so you don't get flu or cold-like symptoms from an overreaction to getting toxins out of your system. And so, yeah, straight and true. That's what Bowenwork is. Are there any questions?
When do we get a session?
When do you get a session?
How do you
I could bring my table anytime.
B-O-W-E-N?
B-O-W-E-N, yeah. Bowenwork. And
I found it online, bowenworkhealthcenter.com.
yeah, Bowenwork Health. Bowenworkhealth.com is my website, or Bowen US is my website. And you can see a video of me doing it, and you can look at the studies that have been done. Believe it or not, there's a study on post-mastectomy lymphedema, a cancer study in Arizona. It was done in 2012. Actually, when we get cancer, women get cancer and they get all the chemo and they get the radiation and they get the surgery and they don't want to be touched anymore. Done. I will not do any other therapies at all. And we get prickly, and yeah, I get it. But everybody who signed up for the study, the moves were so tiny and small, and they felt so much better. And then lymphedema went away, and they're like, why didn't I do this earlier? Like, why didn't you offer this to me during this tragic event that I've been going through? So
Well, if you don't know about it.
you don't know about it, right?
Yeah.
So my mom had breast
Which is the one
cancer.
That's yours. I looked at
Here you go.
Bowenwork US and it's not.
Bowen US. Bowen US.
It looks like it's a tax firm.
Bowen US? No. No, it might be
.com
the wrong
or
address.
org?
.com. Bowenworkhealth.com and bowenus.com. They point to the same site. It's just easier to say Bowen US. It does. There are moves for every part of your body. There are moves in case you have stuff going on in your head, in case you have stuff going on in your feet. All of this stuff has specific moves for the nerves in that area. Tom Bowen would cut the body in half in an energetic way. He would partition it off, not cut it, but partition. So he would put the stoppers right above your hips to begin with, and that would partition you into two spots, right? And smaller pools where the energy could kind of flow up against that spot and back into the hamstring, say if it's a hamstring you're working, and you do hamstring moves, and it would flow up and stop right there and come back, and the energy would start of the vibration there. And then he would partition you into the center back and your upper part, and he'd work the smaller areas so that the moves could be more impactful because they were enclosed. So it's kind of like nature likes to have a cover. Like when you're redoing a garden or something, you want to cover the ground or else it'll dry out. Like we need skin, right? Or else we would dehydrate within 24 hours. Skin is very important. So nature likes a covering, and even the covering in the temple, like it all comes together, this correspondence of need to be covered, as well as work in that area, focused work.
Do you have to have people with you, or can you do long distance, proxy?
I have done Bowenwork from across the planet and still had it work. Yeah. And it works especially well with people who've had a session first, and then they understand what the work is that's coming at them. But I have my mom, I do distance for her because she's up in Afton and I'm not going to drive 3.5 hours and then drive 3.5 hours like, so I'll give her distance sessions and she starts motioning. She, just like me, she's always motioned. So very first time I did Bowenwork on her, it felt to her as if she was winding out and her toes and her tongue would stick out. And then she would wind back, like she felt like she was winding back in. And then she would wind out, and then she would wind back. She's like, what's going on? I'm like, I don't know. But it was, right now I understand it because I just came across this therapy last week, NST, or TRE. And the videos are, one video is a hibernating Arctic squirrel. And when it's waking up, you can see a thermograph of it, how cold it is, and that it's like dead to the world. And how it wakes up is amazing. And that's how our bodies are sometimes in hibernation. Like cold hands, cold feet, like we're partially hibernating and we're just sitting around in comatose state. And hypnotized also from media. Like all of this stuff we are going through the world half asleep, fully asleep sometimes. And some people don't feel their bodies because they're disassociated completely and they're like hanging out next to their body, like because it's too painful to be in the body. There's so much pain. It's easier to be here, and it's amazing how our bodies are built to accommodate that. Our spirit, our soul, are outside and they're just floating there. So Bowenwork kind of brings it back in, so you can float into a specific, there's a headspace that you get into in Bowenwork. So I've done Bowenwork on people at health fairs where there's 200 people in the room, and I've done Bowenwork on somebody who fell asleep and was snoring while people were talking all around, like they, you know. So I'm like, yeah, it can work in whatever circumstances we're in. So let's do a demonstration.
I'll volunteer.
You volunteer? Okay, yeah. You have questions? Go ahead. Go ahead with questions first. Then you'll volunteer. With bone? The bone? Okay.
Neurological nervous system.
Yes.
Vehicle.
Yes.
I know it's all connected.
It is.
Bone healing is it?
Mhm.
Would imagine it wouldn't be as quick as say something else that's more of the soft tissue or.
Well, I don't know because
Can
there's.
it heal bone quickly?
I have seen people actually heal quickly. I've seen people twist their ankle on a hike, and I was there, and we just sat them down and we did Bowenwork, and they were able to walk out on that hike.
Yeah.
And they walked around on it for a week before going to the doctor and found out that it was actually broken. Yeah. And they were like, wow, I've been walking on this for a week.
So is it maybe more that,
I'll volunteer my.
You're like, okay.
is it maybe more that the
Yeah.
nervous system is sending messages to the muscles and nerves and everything to hold that bone in place as it heals?
It's very possible. And there's a frequency in the therapist's hands that actually cycles through all of the frequency of bone and tissue and nerve and muscle. It cycles through all of those and comes back. So it's way better than any Rife machine could be in one frequency. It goes through all of the frequencies of the tissues of your body. My information does. And this is proven in the science of energy healing, the science of, anyway, there's a study that's reported in this book. I have it at home. It's just a list of all the studies that have been done through therapists' hands and seeing what happens with that observational. It is. It's belief. It's intent. Exactly right. Yeah.
So have you worked with people with MS or Parkinson's?
Yes.
And
Yes.
share a little.
Okay, so I have worked with a Parkinson's client for 5 years. In the 5 years I worked with that client, they never fell again. Okay, so when they came to me, their balance was so messed up that they would catch themselves falling. They'd trip over their feet. They would trip over nothing, right? And they were so frustrated But in the 5 years I worked with them, their balance was so steady that they were able to contain themselves and move forward in life. They found something called a multi-supplement called Q96. Yeah, and it helped them to lessen their tremors. So I started using it. Then they changed the formula. I quit that company. Anyway, so I think there's a link between the nutrition that they had as well as the Bowenwork messages to their nerves. Because if something was deregulating the actual covering of their nerves, they would get worse tremors, okay? And so it was about kicking out foods that were unproductive and that would destroy the surfaces of their nerves and fray them. And that would be canola oil, guys, okay? It will sheath off the covering of your nerves and cause you going.
I don't use that. I use olive oil. But
Yeah.
Mitt Romney's wife, Ann Romney, has MS.
Yeah.
And she rides horses.
Mm-hmm.
And that movement
Yes.
has to do.
Its movement is flow, exactly. Yeah, and it tends to kind of support your nervous system's internal rhythm, and then it can regulate itself or keep itself regulated. But food, along with Bowenwork or whatever therapies, even horse therapy, I think that's the key. And here is the most mild food, which is also an herb.
What about, does it have to be organic or
No, it doesn't.
celery juice?
Celery.
Yeah.
I don't care. I've been doing it for 5 years.
Drink it every morning.
Every morning. I still do. I still do.
The whole, is it 16 ounces?
Yeah.
Isn't that what it is? I have a book, but I
16,
did it for
16.
about a
Do
week
you
and
juice
then
your own
Yes.
celery?
I do. I juice my own celery. Yes, I do. I do it. Because if I'm telling other people to do it, I'm going to do it. And in this book, it gives you all of these symptoms, things, and it gives you a page number about how celery juice actually helps that symptom. Okay, this is by Anthony Williams.
Did you read the just medical
Medium.
Yeah.
I've read all of it.
I have a hard time watching him
Oh, me
live,
too.
but
His energy is.
yeah,
Yeah, he's an interesting character, right?
yeah, he's interesting. But his information is good.
His information is good. I think his Chemtrails podcast is like the most
I haven't
interesting.
listened to that one.
Oh.
I've just seen him on, like, I follow him on Instagram and he like picks up the phone and puts on different costumes.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, okay, you totally lost me. Like I can't even get to the information part because
Yeah, he's
his
too
energy
very
and everything is
childlike,
very-
awesome, and I think he really does like credit to go where credit to go to Spirit of Compassion, and I believe that that's true. And it is Spirit of Compassion. It's not Anthony that's writing this. I think it's Spirit of Compassion. So, yes, I do believe in angels. I do believe in God. I do believe that there are specific angels for specific purposes. And I think that it's all pointing towards health, healing, and unity of the human race. So I can't not. And really, when this is a food and it's also an herb, see those tiny little leaves on there? The leaves have the herbal medicine in them. So when you're doing a juice, keep the leaves on, because then you have an herbal extraction and you have a living water, and it has these micro salts in it that are specific to your neurons, and they will help build.
So do you take the whole
that sheet.
stock and do it all at once and then put it away and use it day after day, or do you have to do it fresh each day, or?
I use a whole thing. I use a whole thing, and
Yeah.
I drink it. And if I have more than 16 ounces, I have 32 ounces, I'll split it with my husband. So
You have to have
fresh
it
every
fresh,
day.
you can't
Yeah.
have it sit till the next day.
you can. It doesn't taste as good.
Oh,
It,
okay.
it gets like,
And get the right juicer.
Yucky.
Like the
Yeah.
Briva or the.
yeah,
Yeah,
the,
the valve,
You
the.
can't do it with a blender. You have to do
No.
it by.
No,
doesn't
you'll
work.
get the, oh yeah.
The
it'll taste
stringy.
horrible.
you can do it. You can chop it into slices, put it in your blender, but then you have to squeeze it through a nut
Yeah,
bag.
You gotta do a cheesecloth or something.
Hmm
It's too much
You can
work.
do it. But yeah.
Because I have that, but it's so expensive and it just, you clean it up and
I had a juice and got rid of it.
Jack LaLanne.
I have the
I have
Jack
the Jack
LaLanne.
LaLanne.
And I threw it
It was
away.
a pain in the butt.
To clean it.
Yeah, I got rid of it.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
thing I like about
So
Anthony
which
Williams,
juicer
what
is
you
good?
mentioned is about the living water. and
Living
how
water.
He recognizes the living water in these cold foods are what are helping change our DNA, change our cells,
Yes.
helping to heal our body,
Yeah.
and having that intention before ingesting it
Mm-hmm.
does help.
Yes, because it's full of light and truth. And this is a single, unpolluted, single thing, right? It is itself, right? And it has lost the fiber on it, which is actually a good thing in this case, because you can get fiber from all the other fruits and vegetables throughout the day, but this is medicine, okay? This is actual medicine, and you need it to be unfiltered. You are filtered so that there's no fiber in it, because the medicine will go straight to your brain, and it'll cause you to think better, and it'll cause you to absorb more light and knowledge. And we need more light and knowledge. We need it, right? We need our lemon juice.
Eat the celery.
Lemon juice. Well, you can eat it too, right? But get your medicine
Eat
though.
enough of it to get as much as you get.
Yeah, if you can eat the whole stock a day. I get the omega. I get the omega juicer that he recommended. I just got it. I've been using a Breville this whole time until a week and a half ago.
Is it the masticating kind?
Yeah, it's the masticating.
Easy to clean.
You should sell it to one
Yeah.
of themselves.
I love my
Yeah.
Breville because it cleans up easy.
I know. I love the Breville too. I now have it as a lender unit, and I did just lend it to one of my clients. So I'm getting it back in a month if somebody wants to try, like sign up on the list of, try it. Yeah, it is. It's pricey. Yep. I got on sale for $50 off though. And it comes on sale every couple of months or so. So you can wait.
On like what website?
Is it Amazon? No, it's at the Omega website. Yeah.
So maybe at Black Friday.
Yeah. It'll come up on sale again.
You'll make it.
Yeah, the Omega. I get the Omega.
Is it easy to clean?
Is it small?
That's my biggest thing.
And it's an MM900. It is easy to clean.
Okay.
It's like
Yeah.
$800?
No,
Oh.
it's $300, but I got it mine $50 off. So at
Such a pain.
$279, $300. I know it's crazy. But
Mine was 2000 when my daughter was diagnosed with brain cancer.
yes. See, you'll do anything,
You'll do
right?
anything.
You'll do
You'll do
anything.
You'll put the money in.
Yeah, so I'm on an anti-cancer fast thing right now because 3 of my clients are on it. And one of my clients in Midway, she had cancer on her lower lip earlier this year. And it was hurting her for a whole year. I said, when was the last time you had a potato? And she's like, 5 years. I'm like, okay.
Eat a potato.
Go and get some L-lysine from the store because that's what potato skins make. L-lysine, which fights viruses, and eat it. And she's like, oh yeah, and the pain went away 3 days, and then it came back. I'm like, okay, so L-lysine, the single thing from the potato, is not going to be enough. You probably need to eat potatoes. She's like, I'm keto. I'm never eating a potato again. I'm like, okay, fine. So she goes to Hawaii. Okay, and in Hawaii, she's got these friends that say, hey, I've got this like food thing for your cancer, and it'll make it go away. And she's like, okay, I can do anything for 21 days. So they gave her the 21-day anti-cancer fasting thing. So I said, okay. It took care of it. In 21 days, there was no cancer on her bottom lip. None. It still isn't to this day. She's been back to keto. I'm like, okay, great. And so she gave me this because I had somebody who has cancer on his upper lip. And I'm like, let's do it together. So we're doing this together. And I have another person who has cancer right here on her nose. And it's next to her eye that she got operated on by the doctors, who now it's blinded and she doesn't want another surgery. Like, she's anyway done with doctors. I'm like, here, do this fast with me and this other person. And I've got a third person who just wants to lose weight and has not been able to. I'm like, well, it can't hurt. So I've got like 3 people doing this at the same time. If anybody wants to do it, it's right at the end. And yeah, I'll pass it around. And it's 2 pages, so And if you want one at the end, I'll just, or take a picture of it. And so I'm doing that. It's a juice twice a day, a different kind of juicing thing, and a soup for dinner. And anyway, I think it's cool. And it is food. So food is good. Now, Marilyn, would you like to be our model for demonstrating this?
I'd love to.
Okay. So, and anyone else, let's have you just stand just for a second and do a little assessment with me, because this is the easiest thing. Yeah. Yeah, all of you, all of you. Take one of your hands, just very loose, like feet shoulder width apart. Now take one of your hands and very slowly lift it out towards the side, towards the ceiling. If there's any resistance to that, any aching or paining or whatever, stop at that level. Okay. Okay, so right, a couple. Okay, great. Lower your hands for that side. And then the other side, I want you to just pay attention yourself. Stop it at any level where it gets restricted or painful or you can't lift it. Yeah. All right, good. So you know if there is pain or restriction in one or both of your arms, come on up and stand here in a row. Is there pain or restriction in your arms?
How high?
Pain or restriction. If you couldn't lift it all the way up. And you want me to do this on you? Oh, yeah?
So it starts up in my shoulder.
Okay.
I think that's what's going on.
All right. Yeah, we can do that. So stand right up here next to each other, and I'll just do all of you who have pain or restriction in your arm.
Like I had a
She has stroke.
stiff
Yeah.
so
And it's stiff. Yeah.
whoa, yeah, because
Because it doesn't go up all the way. It's kind of restricted in that. Why not? Go ahead. Come stand over here. Okay.
Reset your nervous system.
Shoulder, shoulder. Okay.
Do you want us facing you?
Yeah,
or
just
backs to
face
you, or-
face the front here so everybody can see.
Should we
Okay,
sit
so
down?
yeah, you guys can sit down and watch. Okay, so this is going to be your assessment. You did a pre-assessment so you know where your arms go, and then afterwards we'll do another assessment, okay? And I'm just going to do the moves right at the location today. Better arm first, all right? So you tell me which is the better arm first when I get to you, and I'll do shoulder on both of your arms, and then we'll talk for a little bit, and then I'll have you do the reassessment and see how you feel, okay? Okay, so just relax your arm, and I'll do the moves on your shoulder. So I'm going to do on the back side of your shoulder, front, and then a little bump on the middle, okay? Just a little bump.
can I
All
just
right.
close my eyes?
You can close your eyes.
Okay.
It's fine. Okay, so here I'm just doing the main points. I'm not doing a full-on session because it's just a quickie, right? Nice deep breath.
Why do you turn so you say?
A little bump. There you go. Okay. Relax your arm down. There you go. Nice deep breath. There we go. Okay. Is that really painful? I'll be gentle around this way.
It hurt?
It hurts.
Like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm there. So I'm kind of, I'm addressing this deltoid, posterior deltoid. Nice deep breath again. There we go. Yeah, little bump. Okay. There. All right. Relax your arm down. Nice deep breath. There. All right? Okay. Now just stand there and relax and breathe. Okay, is this your better arm? Okay. There. Okay. There. Nice deep breath. Good, relaxed shoulder. Just let it fall, let it fall. That's it. There. Little bump. Good. How's that? Is that right? Okay. We'll do the same thing on this side. So we do the better arm first because it's kind of a model for the arm that is more restricted to say this is not going to hurt. Usually, right? There. Come over that. There. Little bump. And then again. There. Nice. Okay. You can relax and just breathe. Better arm? This is your better arm? Okay. Shut up. Relax. Nice deep breath. There. Okay. I'm going to bring this into full abduction. There. And then nice deep breath again. There. Good. Okay. So how's that? Okay. On the other side. There. Nice deep breath. There. And again. Good. Okay. Is that okay? All right, great. And you can just breathe for a second. No, this is your better side.
Cords, you're gonna trip on those cords.
You're all right? You're okay?
Do you
All right.
wanna move over this way or?
Yeah, she's good. All right. Good. That's it. Good. All right. Does that hurt? No? Okay. Do the same thing other side. Very good. Very good. And again. All right. There. Okay. You get to breathe. Yeah.
I have a question, because that's my stronger arm, and it hurt.
Yeah. You get a tight muscle on your posterior deltoid. So this muscle, if it's more active, oftentimes it'll be a stronger or a tighter muscle.
Okay, because no one had any. No one's having pain and stuff except for me. I thought, why is it on my?
There's one tighter one. Yeah.
But it
didn't hurt over here?
Well, no, because I can't feel it.
Oh. Huh. Okay. That's interesting. Yeah.
I can feel
Sometimes
it.
if it's tight there, then it's going to be just, it's just going to feel like something's going on. Okay. So posterior deltoid, anterior deltoid, center deltoid, there's nerves that flow through your shoulder, and sometimes they can be impinged when your muscle is laying too sharp on them, too thick or too tight onto them. And so when I lift it up, I kind of do the little bump to reset that nerve in a better location through your shoulder. Okay? That's what I'm doing.
It's
Yeah.
like I can move now.
Yeah. yeah. Okay, so now spread out just a little bit and spend a couple of minutes, and then do that same thing again for yourself. Okay, you can close your eyes or whatever, and just take your better arm, whatever, and kind of lift it toward the sky and see if you have more range of motion than you had before. Look at you. All the way. That's good. Nice. All right.
It's getting those areas communicating again to your spirit.
Yep. And then lift on the other side and see your range of motion. That's just a quick one, okay? So it might not stay unless you have a session or two, to get it to stay longer, but it's a really interesting, it's very interesting, right?
You have more range? Marilyn, did you
A
have?
little bit more. This one was
Okay,
good.
thanks.
This one's
I'm
still-
going to do elbow wrist on this side. Is that okay if I do more on you? Okay, a couple steps this way. Okay, so we're going to do mid-deltoid down because she's having some carpal tunnel issues down her arm. So we're going to go further, and there's specific moves for that one as well. So on down the arm, we're going to see if her middle finger pops. We've got a little reflex move going on there. Very good. Okay, now we're going to find a nerve behind your elbow and pinch on it to make it asleep for just a little while, all right? And then we'll reset it as well. Okay, so we've got the outside and the inside. They're both on nervous places, but back here there should be kind of a sharp little ting you should feel. You feel that? So we hold that for about 3 seconds or so it goes to sleep. Sometimes we want them to go to sleep so that we can put them in a better place, right? There. That's very interesting correspondence. If you think about spiritually asleep so that you can get some education, wake up better, yeah? All right, there, and tuck. Okay, now do a little exercise with me if you would. And here's your little snaky head, and it goes out, and then it goes dead in its hole. That's right, very good. Okay, let's do that again, a little bit faster. Out, dead. Good. One more time. Dead. Now, your nerve, you're resetting it yourself through your shoulder joint, out your elbow, out to your hands. Okay, now, like you can do a little flicky and see how that goes. Yeah, good. Sometimes I do this, and then it's not this one that hurts anymore. It's like this one the next week. I'm like, what? And I should have done both of them, I guess, but oh.
Well, I did just feel like something over here.
I'm gonna have to do it.
But my knuckles were what were really
Yes.
feeling it, and they're better.
Oh, that's really good. This would be amazing. Okay, I'll have to finish. I don't want to leave somebody halfway done, so. There. And for his golf swing, and he said, I only want you to do the one that hurts. I'm like, okay. But he was the one who called me the next week, and he said, all right, you got to get on out here because now it's my other one. I'm like, okay, that's fine. There, a little pinchy. Down.
Well, I think it's great that you fought the
And
state of Utah to be
yeah.
able to make it legal to do this.
Yeah, I know, right? If you could call this massage, this is not taught in any massage school. So, not in Utah anyway. So, it's not for your muscles. It's not invasive. You can do it when the person is standing or whatever. So, yeah, and it's very portable. And I could do your foot after. Yeah.
Numbness in my fingers.
You feel numbness in your fingers?
It's been there
For
for months.
months? Is that one? Okay, here, we'll do better. We'll do better side first on this one. So, yeah, while I'm talking, it's really interesting to think about how you're connected nerve speaking, right? And what goes on. Is there kind of a repetitive motion that you do that may need to have some attention and change a little bit, or how you're standing at the sink, or all kinds of things. Like, just think about where your body is and when you're doing things and how your body presents, right? Okay, am I in a nerve place? Do you feel pinching? Yes. All right, good. And then when you take that self course, if you take the self course, it'll teach you how to do your own motions.
So that TRE self.
Mm-hmm. That TRE course. And it is completely free. I mean, he does ask you for a donation, and you don't have to because I already did donate. So I'm just letting you know that I already did, but you can if you want. Okay, so out, and then dead knee hole. That's it. Very good. It does. It will crunch your shoulder, give you kind of your own adjustment too. Yeah. That's it. Very good. See, it's the turn and the go. The turn and the go. It's really kind of fun how that nerve flows through there. And then there.
There's so many modalities.
They did a nerve
We can't heal anybody or ourselves.
Yeah.
By just believing what she's doing,
scoliosis,
Uh-huh.
so it's really out of whack.
Oh yeah, there's definitely a specific protocol for scoliosis in Bowenwork, and that would really help. This is just kind of a simple little thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's God's design.
There, and there. Yeah, he needs us to touch each other. Like we need to touch each other.
Boost your oxytocin.
It really does.
So when I moved my arms, I could do it, but
Yeah.
now I've got a headache.
Yeah. All right, so we've got some nerve impingement in your neck itself. And the movement of your deep arm lines of muscles are starting that pinching. And that'll go up to your head. Yeah.
You guys is download at night whenever you're sleeping. Ask Heavenly Father when you say your prayers, please download me with the most important information I need to help my family,
Right.
my friends, to help you, Father in heaven, Heavenly Mother, and our Savior. And you will hear things in the middle of the night. You will get downloads in the middle of the night. It's awesome.
So say that again.
Just ask in your prayer right before you go to bed. Ask Heavenly Father for downloads.
But keep going, because you said ask your mother.
Well, Heavenly Father will give you downloads, Heavenly Mother will give you downloads, and even the Savior. It's powerful.
For help for our families, our children.
Family, children, whatever is bothering you, you'll start getting, or even for healing, gifts. I ask for gifts all the time because it changes your life when you know you can open up your gifts that God wants you to have. But you have to ask for them.
So tell us about your stuff, because it sounds like you're.
I've done it a long time, 20 years. I work with all kinds of different modalities. I work with people all over the whole United States and in Europe. I have 3 clients in Europe. It's all over the phone.
What are your top modalities?
You know, I started by learning from a patriarch who was taught by his mother. And it was all about copper boards. That was a little weird for me because that was different. But you put a body test and you see where you need to work. Then I did body code, then I did emotion code. I did Simply Healed, which was another amazing one I love. I use investigating health, I use brain integration, I do brain stuff. It's really whatever the person needs. But I worked the other day on this guy and he goes, how did you know I went through that trauma at that age? And I said, I did not know. Your spirit wants to be healed. And I'm just the facilitator. And so we can all have these same gifts because God wants us to help each other. So it's been a 20-year journey. It's not what I thought I would do. I was in PR and marketing and I ran my own PR and marketing business and the Lord said, nope, you got to do this. And I love it. But when you're getting bombarded by other people's energy, you really have to protect yourself and make sure you're grounded. And you know that Andrea grounded herself before she started doing anything.
This morning, I grabbed this.
Yeah, good job. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really important.
I also do the emotion code and the body code. I have my own code. And, you know, all of this stuff is energy that wants to come up. And if it comes up in those 2-minute waits in Bowenwork, I'll just write it on their chart. And then if they ask at the end, it's all good. I'll tell them. But if they don't ask, like it just wanted to come up in session, that's all, and it wanted to release. And all of the moves are towards the governing meridian anyway, mostly. And so it releases sets of emotions at the same time, all just gone.
Well,
And
the problem
it's
with
really cool.
is to release the emotions while you're working anyway.
Mhm.
Getting blocked and balanced with emotions.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's another one, complete emotional release. I think that she came in and taught us too. And so I did complete emotional release. Relaine,
Really, yeah.
Relaine, what's her last name?
I don't know. She doesn't do a whole lot anymore, though. I haven't heard much about
Oh,
her.
Raylyn?
Raylin.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
She
She's now
actually did
rich.
a course here at my house.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Raylin.
And it was like an all-day thing.
Mhm.
I got her book. and-
Did you take it? Of course.
Yeah, it
Well,
was
that's
here.
good. Very good. So it's that.
You have to hear, but don't go, you
Well,
have to
she
go
did
out.
one at somebody else's house down in Springville or down that
She
way.
might
too.
have, yeah.
She lives in Elkridge, so she's done it down that way. Hmm.
Yeah.
She's very close to
We're
it.
very gifted people that
So
have
amazing.
wonderful things for us
Helen
to use.
does it too.
Hmm. Yeah.
Would that make a difference?
Yeah.
Variation in emotion code.
Hmm.
laid it out there, but the orthodontics I did, and it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Heavenly Father has just given a variety of people his gifts.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. There's one called Theta Healing that I've also done. I'm not certified in it, but I have totally done it. Yeah, yeah, that's
Rapid
really cool.
eye?
Rapid eye,
that's a
yeah,
good one.
yeah.
EMDR
Yeah, EMT, EMDR. So rapid eye is another form of that flow or that motion that your body does without your consent, like voluntarily. And if you can reprogram with that rapid eye, it's really impressive. And I do like hypnotherapy. I think that needs to be a little bit more controlled. Right, exactly.
Well, that's what I with the MDR too, that a lot of times that it works, but if you don't put the positive back in, that's not okay. If you remove and don't replace it with something more positive, the negative will just go back into its place.
Yeah, so cool. I love all these therapies. I think that
Tapping, what is it?
oh,
I
tapping's
love tapping.
brilliant.
Yeah, I bought
It's
this
a lovely
little
eye.
kit on tapping,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah, my husband loves it. It's for regulating your own emotions and to tap things out and to tap things in. You can kind of also reprogram what you're
Or if you
thinking.
have a kid that's just anxious, I have a daughter that does that. I just have her tap on her thymus and breathe, and it just calms her right down.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just little
I forget about it.
teach your kids. Yeah, I know.
Mhm.
That happens.
Well, I find
It's
myself,
true.
I'll just be sitting and all of a sudden I'll find
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah, it's tapping.
Yeah, so I'll do that too. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so many therapy. I think there's like 30 therapies that I know, and Touch for Health is one of those, like where you do all the muscle testing all around the body, and you just tap on certain places. And anyway, it's very cool. I love it all.
you like Bowen the best?
I do like Bowen the best. I think it's because it's legal. Like it's legal thing, and I worked so hard for there to be something in Utah that is moral, ethical, and legal.
So are you teaching classes now? Or are you
Yeah, I teach classes. Yeah, I teach classes. I'm internationally certified. I'm starting a class. I want to start a class either the beginning of November or sometime in December. I go to places where all the students are. So,
How long does it, how many sessions?
to get certified to be a practitioner, there's 7 classes that you take. 7 2-day classes. So it's like 14 days of training, of hands-on training. And there is also, you got to get your CPR and hygiene and like all of the things. You have to get like anatomy class and things like that. But yeah, because it's a real, you want to be able to take care of your clients in case all kinds of things happen. So yeah. No. Yes. Yeah. There was one. She had MS, and she was rail thin, and she brought in her trail mix and her drink because she needed them after every couple of minutes because she needed something to steady her over, right? And I did 2 moves on her, the lower back stoppers, and she went into hyperventilation. So we had to have her on her side and have to cover her with a blanket and all of that stuff. But she was able to volunteer that week at the library for more than the half hour she normally does. She can volunteer at the library half an hour, and that's what she did. And that week she was able to volunteer for 4 hours. Wow. I know. I'm like, those 2 moves, and you were able to up your volunteering. Like, I don't even know if I would volunteer if I had MS and was in that condition, right? I wouldn't.
She had MS?
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So she thought it was great. She thought the moves were fine, but it wasn't.
So you help her and then they don't have to come back, she can do it on her own, or?
Yeah, she could do it on her own. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I do have like my Parkinson's client. 5 years. I mean, I saw that person for once a month, at least once a month for 5 years. So I I would just say whatever you want to donate from your tax refund once a year, and then you can see me all year if that you want
So
to.
you don't charge per session?
Not for her, no. Not for long-term sessions, not for people like who have chronic illness long-term. Because I'm like, this may take a while to unwind, right? Let's work a deal here, because you're gonna, if you like it, you can bring, your care provider can come and have a session for $10 copay, right? So, because I can do 2 people at the same
So
time.
you submit it to insurance?
Yeah, I submit it to insurance. I submit it to auto, accident, insurance, lawyer, whatever, you know, because it's legal.
Well, that's fabulous.
Yeah. And
What about
woman's gonna do
Medicare?
that. Don't do Medicare. Not a deal. Give me the $10 copay. You know, I'm fine. Because it's really not about money, but there's an exchange that needs to happen.
Right.
But it's about unity, and it's about healing, and it's about value, so.
People become responsible for their own healing if they have some skin in the game.
Exactly.
So when you unwind, do you think you get worse before you get better?
When I do the processing
No,
of the
the
living
person said she's unwinding.
yes.
So do you think it gets kind of worse before it gets better?
Some people do, yes. And I do have to warn about that. So an accident or injury comes in at a certain time, and it unwinds backwards in time too, apparently. That's what I've seen anyway. So the most recent accident will get unwound before the older accidents will. And it'll go back in time that way. And it'll release in that order. And oftentimes it'll be from the inside out. So stuff on the inside of you will heal before you can show it on the outside. All kinds of things. Like I had one client, she had cancer from the blood transfusion when she had this other thing happen to her. So she had cancer from the blood that she got. Anyway, it's like, so I gave her sessions for back pain, but the back pain never went away. But she totally threw up all night long, black, gooey tar, like stuff.
Ooh.
And then she went to the doctor and had her numbers checked for cancer, and the numbers were really reduced every time I did a session on her. But she had to throw up this black tarry stuff all night. I'm like, was it worth it? I don't know.
Rather than chemo,
Right?
chemo stuff.
But it's like, it was awful. Like her whole experience was awful. I'm just like, it was so terrible. So anyway, it was
How to alleviate it a
interesting.
little bit? Was it
She said the doctors were impressed by it. The numbers are so much lower. What in the world are you doing? And I'm like, well,
Like alleviate the side effects. Like I wonder if you could have done something on that.
yeah. But
Do you do anything yourself to prepare for a session?
yeah. So I'm always in prayer for a session. Like, and even in the 2 minutes, like when I'm stepping away from the client, I'm still in prayer for them for those 2 minutes. So it's not like I'm giving up on you and going and doing the dishes. I'm always focused on the client, even though I stepped out of their energy so you can cook, they can say like all of that, and then you release and then yeah, no processing.
And not to change the subject, but anyone who ordered potatoes,
Yeah, I have them in my back of my car.
yeah.
So alleviate the side effects like she said. So if you set the intent before you work on her to alleviate the side effects, would that be possible?
Oh yeah, that's complete emotional release. That's the first thing. Like it's all a complete emotional
So you
release.
maybe did that with her, but yet she still had,
Well, I didn't know complete emotional release when I worked with her. That was in 2012. So that was a long time ago. But I learned it since, and I should have used it well. I suppose everything's timing, right? Because my dad died of diabetic complications, so after they took his second leg, and I didn't know what I know now. If I had, then he wouldn't have gone, but he needed to go, right? He had a mission on the other side. So,
You can't stop God's purpose.
no, no.
But you can make the transition easier.
Yes,
And
and I
that's
did
what I did
that.
for my dad.
And you can be grateful for the experience that led you to a new level of understanding and learning.
Exactly. And he taught me everything I learned on the code that I made for myself, because I couldn't afford the body code, so I just made my own. So he taught me all of that stuff. More than any other client has taught me, my dad taught me while he was dying, which is sad and awesome, and that's the way it goes, right?
That's what happened to me after my mom died.
goes, "You're not doing the right thing." I'm like, "What? I really have to do this full time?" Okay. So then I did it full time. You know, those parents on the other side of the bell, dang it.
What was your name?
I know.
Teresa.
Teresa. What was the last name?
Almond. Just like the nut.
Yeah. All right. What time is it? Do we have any time left? I'd say go over.
11:29.
What? Oh, we're right in time. Okay. So the Swedenborg thing in combination with the others, I'll just send the slides out with Colette so you can see the quotes that have to do with unity between.
I think you should just come back. I'm not very good at watching slides on my own.
All right, I'll come back. I mean, I do have the 27.
Lucky Teresa, for some
And
reason.
it'll link into her
email.
stuff too, so maybe we can find it. The other thing, just last mention in the archives, whenever there was unrighteousness in the church,
I'm sending you the
the
bio.
women lost the gift of healing.
Wait a minute, collective unrighteousness in the church and the women
Really?
lost the gift of healing?
That's whenever the men,
That's in the mental
whenever there was oppression,
That's
the
why we're
women
all
lost the gift of healing.
No kidding.
So that's, I just wanted to mention that as a
We're
historical,
working our
maybe
tails off to
fictional
bring it back.
thing,
I mean, we can't do
right?
it.
So, I was talking to Teresa and I missed what you said.
Okay,
You
here's the
said-
thing. Every single time, and I've linked them all together, every time there was unrighteousness in the church, the women lost the gift of healing. Every single time.
get us to lose it right now.
I think we are.
Well, the church is bigger mess now than I've ever seen them in the 40 years I've been a member. I mean, that's what conference was all about. It was all about trying to get unity back.
Unity back, and we can't get unity unless we claim that we can all heal, because Joseph Smith said we could, and we have to believe it, right? So
I
it's
have
not,
the coolest book from Joseph Smith, because he's a direct descendant of our family.
yeah.
And it's all about the women in the church and what they did. It's really, my brother and I were reading it during before my dad's funeral. But
What's it called? What's the book?
I'm gonna have to take a picture of it.
Send it to us.
Yeah, I'd love to read that.
It's really, unless my brother took it home. If he took it, I'll text him. But it's really cool of how much power women truly have. I mean, Emma Smith was Joseph's right-hand woman.
Yeah.
Like, she was right there. And one of my ancestors in our book, it says that across the plains, she was asked to heal people as she was crossing the plains.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we do have these, and men have the gifts too, but women are nurturers.
Yeah,
Yes.
And
it's
it's-
naturally in us,
It's,
right?
we cannot not do this. Like, we
Can I
need
tell
to
two
help.
quick examples?
Yeah, go ahead.
When I lived in Ephraim, there was a part of the she was talking to me. She said, "Yeah, down here at the temple every Tuesday, the women in the Pioneer Days would line up and give each other blessings." Yeah, they would. I mean, and I thought that was pretty cool. She was kind of telling me that. But
Beautiful.
Ephraim's rescue, when the young man that was the dancer was going to have his feet cut off and then he was healed. Well, when he got back to Salt Lake City, there was a woman that helped him heal. Now what happened is she had an apothecary before they left on the trip to West, and this kind of mean man, I don't know if it's the captain of their group, said, "You can't take that, it takes too much room," and she said, "I'm not going without it." But that's who healed him in Salt Lake with all her herbs, and that's something that's I'm a descendant of. So I'm grateful.
I have a cool story. I was researching Noah and his wife. Do you know Noah was in charge of the animals and the family and all that? Do you know what Noah's wife was in charge of? She brought all the seeds for all the plants,
Yes,
for all the
she did.
plants and all the vegetation, and that was her responsibility. And so what you said in the beginning about Heavenly Mother
Yeah.
giving the responsibility for the healing, well, Noah's wife was responsible to make sure everything was saved in terms of vegetation.
Still on our
Isn't that
list.
cool?
Ooh,
And why do we need to talk about her
I
and
know.
her what she got to? Who cares just about the animals? I mean, I don't mean to be rude to animals, I'm grateful they're here. But then vegetation
Yeah.
is critical
Or
also.
all the women in the Bible. I have a book all about the women in the Bible that specifically was written. I mean,
The
all,
healing oils of the
we
Bible.
are powerful beings, and we need to fight for what was right. I'll take the good one too. No, that's a good one too. My mom and dad left me everything, all their books.
You should do a presentation.
I did a long time ago.
No, we need to do
It's,
another.
it's a new rule of good.
I know, it's true.
Okay, schedule her in.
Thank you so much for.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you, appreciate it. Okay, anybody who wants, pass the.
Come get our, well, we're all here except for Robin, so.
Okay.
And